All right, so after you have used the supplied chalk and put it in the chalker, which I have put some in here, I like to put the bag back where it came from just to keep it clean. And then at this point, you're ready to go to the field. It is helpful to have more than one person if you have a second hand, because this is kind of cumbersome while holding on to your chalker going to the field, and it's nice if you have another person to bring your string line for you, or else you're gonna have to make 2 trips. So at this point, we'll take my chalker, my frame, and then whenever you're not in the building, it's really important to not leave our door open. It's kind of inviting children to go in there and start taking things, and we don't want to do that. So once the door's closed, you should be good to go and head to the field. So now I'm going to show you how I frame a field for our batter's boxes. It's actually pretty important because these are directional. So when you do put these down, always make sure that this bar that's in the center here goes to the top side of home plate. And what I do is I drag it right over the edge so it lines up perfectly with the front of the base or home plate. Make sure it's right off, straight off the side. Make sure I have it perfect off of second base. And then what I like to do is make an impression by just lightly tapping around the frame. You don't have to really hit it hard, just enough to leave an impression in the dirt. I pick it up and just do the exact same thing on the opposite side. And then once you have that down, you're ready to chalk it. So before I run my string lines, I like to make sure that I chalk my batter's boxes. Every chalker, it might not be the same exact one as this, but every chalker that we supply will put down a 2-inch line. It's obviously your choice if you want to use our frame or not. I would prefer to, or suggest, just due to the fact that it is much easier to get a straight line. You could obviously freehand this. It just does not look as nice that way. And then once I have my batter's box, I like to run my string line for my foul lines. So you want to make sure that the nail, you find the apex of home plate, and you want to run it right on that edge. So when your line comes out, it goes right across the edge of your home plate. So once you have your line strung out, I like to make sure that it's perfectly straight. You can nail it down with the provided screwdriver in the grass here if you want to get tension on it. It's not necessary, especially when there's no wind. So now that I have my string line straight and right down the center of my two bases, I will go ahead and chalk it. It can be a little difficult to keep this straight. It just takes a little bit of focus. So once you have your first line done, then you'll just pick your line up, pull it over to third base, and just repeat the same process. So once you have all your chalk out on the field, obviously you'll want to go ahead and do your bases. Each field can vary, but generally most of the fields we have, you'll see these orange caps that will go directly on top of our anchors. It is a little wet out right now, so it's pretty easy to dig around these. Sometimes this can be a little difficult, which is why we have a shovel. You want to dig out as much as you can around the post itself. It just makes it easier for the base to get slid down on top of it. So now that we have our anchor exposed and cleaned off, you'll want to put your base in. A good thing to pay attention to is every field's a little different, so there actually are multiple lengths for the base. The posts obviously won't fit on everything, so just keep that in mind that they do fit on the field. You just have to find the right anchor that they go to. This one is not as deep, so it is shallow. So then you just line it up. Sometimes it can be finicky. And then you have your base. And then you can tell here that we have another cap. So this is first base. We do supply a double base for that if you do end up using that, depending on what level that you guys are playing at. So as you can see, this is not an orange cap. So on some of our fields, it can vary just due to the fact that they get torn out of the ground. Sometimes they just disappear. Either it can be an orange cap like this that is directly on top of your post, or you'll see these yellow whiskers. And what that means is that is not directly on top of your post. The best way to figure out where the post is from here is make sure that your whisker is visible. And then I literally like to just put a hand like this right in front of it. So where my fingers rest is where I'll dig. And then I can feel the post. And then it's the same process as before. You just want to make sure that you dig out as much as you can around the posts so it's easier for your bases to go down smoothly, because we don't want you to try to feel, you don't want to feel the resistance on your base and then stomp on it, because it will get stuck. So just like before, make sure that you clean away your anchor, and then that's what you should expect whenever you see these yellow whiskers, is basically about a hand length towards home plate is where your base will actually go. In the chance that you cannot find one of our caps or our whiskers, because unfortunately they do go missing on occasion, realistically the best option at that point is to hopefully have access to a metal detector. That can be your best chance of finding whatever you need, because no matter if anything is flagged or not due to being pulled out of the ground or thrown somewhere, which unfortunately happens quite a bit, it's very nice to have the ability to just use a metal detector to find it real quick. And then of course, the last thing about each field is provided a set of bases. Please keep those bases with the field that they came from. So we're currently at Homes. There are two fields. They both have their own bases. Don't bring bases from the north field to the south field or vice versa. Always make sure that the bases that are supplied in the storage for that field stay with that field. Say we do have unfortunate weather, it rains, and now you show up to your field, there's standing water around second base or home plate or somewhere. Please fight the urge to rake it out yourselves or push it out. Just try to spread it out. It might work in the moment, but the problem with that is it actually is making a bigger hole that is harder to repair for the next user. And then another thing to keep in mind is whenever you guys are practicing, you've got teams throwing in the outfield, it would be really helpful for us if you would not allow your teams to stand directly on our foul lines. Obviously wearing cleats, that can tear up our turf quite a bit. And you most certainly wouldn't want to show up and have the field in bad shape due to the team before you leaving in bad shape. So just keep that in mind, that we expect that you guys take care of the field while you're here so the next team can use it and they'll be happy with what's left behind, and it'll be the same thing for the next team. And then by the time the tournament's over, when our maintenance staff is back, we have less damage to deal with because everybody's been respecting our field and that's been a very beneficial thing for us. Once your game is over, once you go to take your bases out, we expect that you guys put these back where you took them out, and then the same thing goes for our caps. So this is very straightforward, but obviously these will just slide right over the base anchor. Make sure it's on there snug, and then please just kind of backfill a little bit. It makes it easier to drag when these are not super exposed. Our drags we use will pick these up if they're not buried very good. So if you can just get them as low as you can and just kind of pack some dirt around them, that's all we ask. And then of course with our bases, like I said, please put those back in the shed where you got them. For post-game teardown, once you guys have taken the bases out and put them away, we do supply our rakes. It'd be very helpful for us if you guys would go to, for example, our home plate area where people stand in the batter's boxes. If you guys could just please try to pull in material to fill the holes that were created during the game. The reason being is it's beneficial for us as a staff because now you're leaving it in better condition. So if there's a team playing after you, there hopefully isn't large holes at home plate that they have to deal with now. So if you could do that for them, it'd be very beneficial for them and us. And then if you happen to be the last team that plays that day, it's really beneficial for us as a staff because we could get rain overnight. And of course, if we have low spots, those will hold water, and then it's just gonna be more hassle for us to try to repair those, especially if we have games early the next day. Along with home plate, once you have that raked in, please go to where you guys pitched from and each base. Obviously those are gonna be lower spots for people sliding or just shifting their feet. So basically we're just expecting to have all our low spots raked in just in case we do get rain or the other team's playing after you. It'd just be very helpful to not have to worry about leaving a field in bad shape for somebody else.